Hey guys, welcome to Operation PlayStation. I'm your host Dash. This week we are obviously relaunching the podcast. And before we begin anything today, obviously I want to, talk about why we're relaunching it and what it means and everything else. So this is episode 1. Basically, what we're going to be doing going forward with Operation PlayStation is less fluff, more info, and a little less of, just kind of overall, filler. And, I'm not looking to kind of cover anything that's not pertaining to PlayStation or anything that's not going to, nothing that's impacting the industry or anything that's, drama related or anything like that. That's not my job. I'm not here to cover any of that. I'll leave that up to other people to do and whatever else, I'd rather us be an informative podcast, something that people can come to and, be informed about what's going on in PlayStation every week. And I'll have myself a co-host to do that with me. He's also helped me reformat this podcast as well. He'll be here in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But I thought I'd get episode 1 out of the way and talk about what's going on, because I tell you what, there has been some serious stuff that has happened with PlayStation in this week. And it's not a good sign for the PlayStation 5. And we have to talk about that. But before we do, we still have housekeeping. But housekeeping has also been streamlined a little bit. I'm not gonna waffle on about what and who and what it is and whatever. It's just basically a list. I'm gonna read what we have on the website. You guys can go check it out. So, housekeeping this week, we've got a Backbone 1 review, Life is Strange Arcadia Collection review, SD Gundam Battle Alliance review, Dragon Ball Breakers preview, and a whole ton more out right now on dashgamer.com. Thanks to Backbone and Bandai Namco, respectively, for supplying all that for us to cover, and also a whole bunch of other stuff from 5 Star Games, PlayStation, and other outlets out there at the moment, including PlayOn. Obviously, Saints Row is also up on Dash Gamer, so I would love for you guys to go check that out. Now, once again, just to kind of reiterate the point at the beginning of the show before we jump into the news, less fluff, more info. That's what we're aiming for now with Operation PlayStation. We're not here to waffle on and give you, just bullshit. We're here to inform you. And that's going to be the job of myself and my co-host. So we're really excited. It's a much more simpler, streamlined format that we get out of the way. Something for you guys to easily digest during the week as well. It won't take you long. It can go from anywhere from half an hour to 45 minutes, and that is the aim right now. We're looking to kind of have it tight knit. Half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe max an hour, but that's it. We don't want to go over that. And look, we used to have review segments as well on the show. We'll still kind of have review segments on the show if time persists. But I would rather our writing on the website speak for us as well. So when I promote stuff in housekeeping, I would love for you guys to go check it out. We may have like a discussions about bigger releases, like a God of War or the Horizon remake or whatever, the Last of Us TV show. Those will have their own segments on the show. But when it comes to like a mid-tier release, I guess I'll put it that way, I would rather you guys go check that out on the website. That's pretty much what we're going to be doing. So other than that, let's not waste any more time. Let's actually jump into this week's news. The first bit of news comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says, new PS5 firmware update available to download now, improve system performance. Now, I know that this doesn't seem like major news, but this ties in a little bit to what's been happening. Whether or not this article says that, it kind of does, and I'll go over that in a second. So, Sammy Barker reads and says, a new firmware update for the PS5 is available to download and install now, but don't expect any major changes. The latest software, which weighs in around 1.08 gigabytes, promises, quote, improved system performance, end quote, so expect various bug fixes and security tweaks behind the scenes rather than any forward-facing features. For those of you keeping check, the update is labeled 22.02 dash 06.00.01, and you can refer to your console settings to ensure that it's been successfully installed. The last major PS5 firmware update introduced game lists and a 1440p support, as well as a variety of user interface optimizations. It's rumored that Discord will be integrated as a part of the platform's next major update. Of course, that's part of that whole licensing agreement that was announced a few months ago. Now, the crux of this, the reason behind this. First of all, the firmware numbers now I've kind of learned. The 22.02 dash doesn't really count. It's the 6.00.01. That's the firmware number that you're looking at. And the reason I say that is because of what's happened within the homebrew jailbreak scene. Now, I'm not going to source or reference anything. I'm just going to read off some notes that I've got. So basically, the PlayStation 5 was jailbroken this week, and it's not a good sign because it's actually advancing rapidly. They're progressing quite fast in the homebrew scene with it. Right now, as of recording this, there's no way to back up any pirated copies of games, which is a good sign. It's only for firmware 4.03 to 4.50. So anybody who's already updated their firmware in their PS5, they can't access that. And chances are that like a good portion of people would have already updated. There would be slightly a portion of people that would have probably kept their PlayStation stock sealed in a cupboard somewhere, so that when the time comes they can activate a jailbreak or something, because there's always tech heads will do that. But that's where we're at the moment with what's happened there. Today, though, there has been a little bit of a breakthrough in terms of loading backup PS4 titles. So basically, people can install. So it was already shown by Lance McDonald on Twitter that you're able to install package files, which essentially is like a zip file, and it unzips the executable onto your PlayStation 5, where he basically installed PT on his PS5, but he wasn't able to run it at the time. But there has been progress in that you can now install decrypted package files and load them as of today. Basically, there was not to go into too many details, but from what I read, it was according to a text file that all that had to be modified, and like homebrewers were able to access pirated PS4 games, which is kind of sad because you don't want to see that, especially on a platform that's just like about to hit its 2-year anniversary in like a month. So I don't know. I think from what I've gauged so far on the PS5 jailbreak situation is that it's advancing fast, and Sony now have to keep their ear to the ground on what's happening and keep in contact with a lot of the jailbreakers and the hackers that they've been able to keep in contact with, and pay out and see if they can negotiate some sort of deal with them that, if they hear anything, that they can help them out with, firmware updates and everything else. Because I tell you what, at this rate, if they catch up as fast as what they're, releasing patch notes and whatever for their jailbreaks, it's going to get nasty, and it's going to get nasty quick, because the PS4 took almost its entire life cycle to jailbreak. And then, we haven't seen a jailbreak from Xbox because basically they kind of semi-opened up the possibility of developers also including homebrew on, developer mode for the Xbox and the Xbox Series X. And that put a stop essentially to homebrewers and everything else trying to open up the Xbox, because that the problem is that it's a double standard within the hacking community and the jailbreaking community, that they do this for one specific purpose, and that is to run homebrew on a console. When in fact that they do that, there are people who legitimately want to do that, like emulation and all that stuff, and fair go, that's fine. But then when you have access to those tools, those dev kits, WebKit and dev kit tools, basically it gives them permission to afterwards, in technical terms, access the kernel and everything else, and able to develop their own programs for the PS5, which in turn it could potentially lead to an ISO loader, or for layman's terms, a ROM loader. The PS3 had it. The PS4 unfortunately fell for it right at the end of its life cycle. Albeit not completely optimized. You can't run the latest games on their current jailbreak, but this is not the same as the PS4. This is advancing a lot faster than that. So it's concerning. It's concerning to say the least. And hopefully PlayStation get on top of that ASAP, because it is going to be a major issue if they don't right now. Let's talk about the next story. The next story comes by way of Cade Onda over at Comic Book Gaming. They say Elfenning has been confirmed for Hideo Kojima's next video game. Hideo Kojima is one of the most renowned creators in the gaming industry, thanks to his incredibly innovative gameplay and layered stories and characters. There's really no one else like him, and that makes his work so unique and successful. It has also made people want to work and connect with him. Kanye West has made mentions of being a fan of Kojima. Numerous actors and directors have spent time with him, and so on. This has allowed Kojima to garner impressive casts for his games, with actors like Kiefer Sutherland, Norman Reedus, Margaret Qualley, Leah Seydoux, and more. I don't know how to pronounce that. It seems like he's not pulling any punches for his next game either. A new teaser website has confirmed that Elfenning will be in Hideo Kojima's next game, though it wasn't confirmed what the game is. As spotted by Lance McDonald, a poster that read, quote, "Where am I?" end quote, was found at PAX in Australia. When a company QR code is scanning, it brings fans to a website with Elfenning's picture, and text reads, quote, "Who am I?" and a Hideo Kojima game. Kojima Productions began teasing its next game last month with an image of a woman's head and a darkened face with some text around it that read, "Who am I?" Internet detectives were able to match up the outline of her head with Elfenning's, and assumed that she was cast in the mystery game. However, we were left to wonder what actually was her up. What if it was actually her up? Oh, if it was her up till this moment. That was grammatically weird. Okay, anyway. So there is a picture posted by Lance on the website here that's been embedded. It's weird that PAX Australia would get such an exclusive, but there you go. Cool, I guess. Kojima has been expressing work with other actors within the industry, and has wanted to, within the like Hollywood and all that, and has expressed wanting to bring his games essentially his mainline series that he's renowned for, like Death Stranding and all that. There's been talk as well of Metal Gear being bought out by potentially PlayStation or even Microsoft. There's a better chance that Microsoft will buy it out than PlayStation, that's for sure. And if that happens, yeah, I mean, they'll hand Metal Gear to Kojima on a silver platter, but I don't think he'll want to develop for Metal Gear anymore. I think that's a little. I think it's behind him now, definitely. But I mean, look, this game looks interesting. in terms of some of the promotional material that's rolling out for it. I don't know. I get a little bit of Control vibes from seeing some of the promotional artwork, but that's about it. I mean, it's interesting to see that he's still talking to, a lot of actors within Hollywood and all that, and keeping in touch with them so that he can develop games with, mainstream actors and all that. So yeah, it's interesting. So there you go. There's a little bit of news for you out of PAX today. So the next one comes by way of the gamer. This one is Lu Lang at the gamer, who says PlayStation head says it's, quote, not ruling out PS4 versions of its games, end quote, beyond 2023. There are over 117 million of consoles out there. That's a big number. I'll tell you what, it would be stupid of PlayStation to kind of slow down on developing titles or even distributing and publishing titles for the PlayStation 4 right now, when people are still using it, when people still don't have access to a PS5. It would be disastrous if they turn around and said, no, we're not going to release Horizon 2 and God of War 2 on PlayStation 4. That would be a terrible business decision. So anyway, the article reads, PlayStation 5 owners wanting exclusive PS5 games may be in for some disappointment. While the number of games only available on the big white console is growing, albeit slowly, it seems Sony isn't willing to let go of its previous gen quite yet. Speaking to Axios, the head of PlayStation Studios, Herman Hulse, said that the PS4 versions of its games could continue moving into 2023 and further. Quote, we certainly don't want to forget the millions of active players on PS4, and we want to ensure that there are great games for them as well, end quote. He told the newsletter, quote, we're evaluating it on a case-by-case basis, end quote. This is in stark contrast to suggestions made by the group President Jim Ryan a few years ago, who seemed to signal that the PS5 would be a clean break from the previous gen, when he said the PlayStation, quote, believes in generations, end quote. Since when the likes of Gran Turismo 7 and Horizon Forbidden West have been cross-gen, as well as will be the forthcoming God of War Ragnarok. However, the install base for the PS4 remains massive, with the final count for the total number of consoles sold as of March of 2022 being 117.2 million units. This makes the PS4 one of the most successful consoles of all time, with only its predecessor, the PS2, over 155 million, beating it. However, it does have the Nintendo Switch as a rival, which is sitting on 111 million units sold. Okay, so let's kind of address something here, and it's more or less a conflicting thing right now between, I believe, Herman Hulse and Jim Ryan, and there's some clashing opinions happening right there. That there's red flags. There's definitely red flags happening, and it's not a good sign that Jim Ryan is saying one thing and Herman Hulse is saying another. I realize that Jim Ryan is ultimately the final say, but I think the influence of Herman Hulse on Jim Ryan's final say is a big, big matter. And, essentially when Herman Hulse says, no, we're not going to give up on PS4 games just yet, you don't give up on PS4 games just yet. That guy knows. Whereas Jim Ryan is clueless. And I can confidently say that. I think a lot of PlayStation games can confidently say that. I think a lot of people within the industry can confidently say that Jim Ryan is clueless when it comes to what people want and how they want it, where they want it, and how it's distributed. Basically, how it's distributed. From that quote that it's a clean break, it hasn't been a clean break. And not only has it not been a clean break, he has been criticized for also trying to make it almost a clean break in terms of, applying a monetary value to some of the upgrades that are now rolling out for PS4, from PS4 to PS5. For example, Ragnarok will cost an extra $10 on top to upgrade from your PS4 version to PS5. Whereas, he tried to do that initially with Horizon Forbidden West, and people were like, no, fuck that. I ain't paying an extra $10. You guys promised that this was going to be a free upgrade. And he was like, no, we didn't. And then guess who lost out? They did, because they knew it was a PR disaster from the start. Just as Jim Ryan really is, to be honest. He is a PR disaster on legs. That bloke walks around and is destroying the credibility right now of PlayStation. Every time he opens up his mouth, he needs to stop. First of all, it's great that they're continuing production on titles for PS4. There are a lot more people with PS4s and PS5s right now. I feel kind of bad that there are, people still struggling to gain access to a PS5. It's kind of it's again concerning that manufacturing has taken this long after the pandemic, and we're still sitting, everything's kind of gone back to normal, quote unquote normal, and people are back at work, but we're still waiting on manufacturing to cover numbers, basically. People who want a PS5, people who've pre-ordered a PS5. And the other thing too is that the price hike doesn't help the situation at all. You announce a price hike on this thing, and then you're like, oh, not only are we going to have a price hike, but we're going to have a clean break. Oh my God. What is wrong with you? Please don't talk anymore. Stop. Please don't say another word, Mr. Ryan. You're killing it. You are killing it. And I don't mean you're killing it as in a good thing. You're killing it as in you are legitimately killing the brand. Anyway, that's my thoughts. So let's move on to the next one. This one comes by way of Ray and man, his name, seriously, Empoloquio. Ray from xfire.com, who says, leaked documents suggest that a Horizon Forbidden West PC port is coming. Next up on the list of PC ports of first-party Sony titles with the console manufacturers might be working on bringing Horizon Forbidden West to the PC. Now, this also pertains to the leaked document that has been making the rounds right now, and there is a whole mention there. I'm going to actually bring that up right now. So for the viewers that are watching on video on dashgamer.com, exclusively on dashgamer.com, this is the leaked doc that basically got passed around. It's an Excel spreadsheet dated 2021 as well. So it's weird, but it's been confirmed that this is legit. So on this, from what we see, Guerrilla Horizon 2, Horizon DLC, which is already confirmed with Silence actor. Now I can't remember his name. Anyway, the actor that plays Silence, they're already in studio recording for the DLC. And then you have the platforms that it's getting published on, and on third on the list is Horizon 2 for PC. So that pretty much confirms it. Then on the fourth, we have a Horizon PS5 Remaster, which we'll talk about in a second. Then Horizon Online for both PS5 and PC. Horizon VR for PS5. And there's a whole bunch of other things here too, like Sackboy for PC. Returnal for PC. A whole bunch of stuff here. So... And a whole bunch of it too ported by XDev. It's interesting. So yeah, cool. I mean, look, I'm for it. I'm legit for all these ports happening. I think that it's really cool that we are seeing, basically PS5 games that, they're not exclusive to PS5. They're also on PS4, but they're making their way to PC as well. This is an initiative that I welcome, mainly because Xbox now kind of, these days you don't need to own an Xbox Series X. You can basically subscribe to Game Pass and use xCloud and play anything you want on your PC, stream it. And the facilities, the services that Xbox have are excellent. Like in Australia, to be able to stream a game and play it without any problems, without, any hesitations, that in itself is remarkable, considering the fact that our internet infrastructure here in Australia is like, one of the worst infrastructures in the world. So it's a miracle that Xbox are able to pull that off here. But it runs really well. But to see now that PlayStation are kind of pushing an initiative to actually port their titles to PC so people can play them on another platform, that is awesome. I love that. That's a great initiative, and that's something that PlayStation should be proud of pushing forward, because I tell you what, it's going to get to a point where Xbox will dominate that scene, and PlayStation will kind of have titles still lightly trickling through, but it will probably be one of those things where people will still want to hunt down a PS5 to play those titles on, regardless of what kind of platform or what kind of power their PC is capable of outputting. So I'll be able to kind of talk a little more about this in the coming weeks on a title that I'm reviewing, but I can't say much right now. But essentially, it's great that they're pushing that initiative. I think that's really, really cool. I want to move on to this next one. This one comes from Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says, Guerrilla's delectable Decima engine, or Decima engine, I should say. That's right. Decima engine being used in several PS5 projects. Now, before we continue, it should be noted that Horizon Zero Dawn will be remastered for PS5. That was also part of the leaked list, and it's very possible that the Decima engine will be used to remaster the title, akin to how The Last of Us Part 1 was remastered for PS5, partially using the engine of The Last of Us Part 2 in the game, with some graphical enhancements and some gameplay improvements. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. I'm definitely for it. I love Horizon Zero Dawn. I still think it's better than Forbidden West, to be completely honest with you guys. But I mean, look, Forbidden West is still excellent. Like, it's still an excellent game. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Anyway, the article reads, Dutch developer Guerrilla Games' delectable Decima engine is being leveraged by, quote, several studios. According to PS Studios bigwig Herman Holst, the Amsterdam-based outfit famously handed Hideo Kojima the source code to its tech, which was later used to create Death Stranding. And according to leaked documents, the sequel will be built using the same toolset. Of course, the project's still unannounced, so Holst didn't comment on that, but he did allude to the following in an interview with Japanese Gaming Institute Famitsu. Quote, there is the sharing of technology, he said, of the advantages of the PS5 Studios division. Quote, for example, there are several studios using Guerrilla Games' Decima engine. We also place importance on improving our technology, and we share that idea among the studios, end quote. We suspect Firesprite's upcoming PSVR 2 exclusive Horizon Call of the Mountain is leveraging the Decima engine, but with so much of Sony's upcoming portfolio under wraps, it's difficult to discuss what else could be using the tech outside of the aforementioned Death Stranding sequel, of course. Still, Horizon Forbidden West was a real jaw-dropper on the PS5, and we're in favor of more devs taking advantage of those features. It's excellent. This is something that I didn't think that, PlayStation, head of PlayStation would essentially give access to Hideo Kojima. I don't know if that was a sweetener to kind of make him think about, becoming an exclusive to PlayStation Studios or not. If that was, it failed, because I tell you what, he still hasn't signed an exclusivity deal. Not only that, he appeared on the last Xbox showcase. But it's great that Herman Holst, if that wasn't the intent, if the intent was just generally a general goodwill of Herman Holst, which I believe that would be the case, it's cool to see that even studios that are first party to PlayStation are willing to share that engine, share that knowledge to, outside of their sphere, and, kind of show a little bit of unity between, the industry, because there really isn't, that really doesn't happen that much. And I think that, if anything, to see that, to know for a fact that Herman Hulst has kind of pioneered now a little bit more in terms of what the Decima engine has been capable of. That bloke basically now puts a large portion of the game industry on his shoulders. The potential of a lot of games, including Death Stranding. I mean, if you think about it, without Horizon, there's no Death Stranding. And that is amazing to think of. And now that you kind of think about, there are other studios within the industry that are taking advantage of it. I would love to know who. Because part of me, like, there is a little part of me that thinks that Returnal may have borrowed some stuff from the Decima engine. I really haven't read into it, so I don't know. I'm kind of I haven't actually delved enough into Returnal to know. So that's honestly, it's amazing though to think that the head of PlayStation would simply just say, "Yeah, here's the source code for the Decima engine. Go for it. Make whatever." The fact that they did that, it's amazing. So I love it. I love that it's kind of spreading the love a little bit. So who knows who else will have their hands on the Decima engine? Who knows if Sony Santa Monica isn't using part of it to build the next God of War? Because I tell you what, they could definitely use it. God of War 2018 was great, but I reckon that Horizon Zero Dawn still has its edge over it. And if they utilized any of the Decima engine for God of War Ragnarok, holy shit. Like, if you played Forbidden West, you would say to yourself, geez, God of War would benefit a lot. Like, in terms of its gameplay loop, it would benefit so much using the Decima engine. Whether or not it uses it is another story. So we'll definitely see what happens within the next month or so. It's already gone gold. We know that God of War is on its way. It is a month from Monday, I believe. Tuesday. A month from Tuesday. We're not that far out, man. We're not that far out, I'll tell you. The next one comes by way of Adweek. This one comes from Jason Knott of Adweek, who says, Andrea Perez is a game changer for Sony Interactive. The former Nike and Jordan Brand executive sees a passion for the players at the company behind PlayStation. Now, this one is kind of a little weird because I think that from what I've gauged from this is more seemingly a brand kind of deal to kind of appeal like more or less marketing strategy for PlayStation, and that's fine. That's fine. I mean, it benefits PlayStation massively if they can shut Jim Ryan up and have Andrea Perez take care of doing that side of things. Because, oh god, what a fucking nightmare that bloke is. Anyway, so the article reads, whether it's in sports or in video games, elite players go where they can be a playmaker and game changer. After nearly 2 decades at Nike, uplifting undeserved athletes and customers, Jordan Women's Vice President and General Manager Andrea Perez sees a similarly challenging playing field in gaming. This month, Perez joins Sony Interactive Entertainment as its Senior Vice President of Brand Product and Services Marketing. She'll be in charge of hardware, VR, peripherals, the PlayStation Store, services, and product marketing teams, as well as consumer insights and marketing analytics teams. She'll also attempt to bring the joy of gaming to an audience as broad and inclusive as possible. Quote, one of the things that makes Nike successful is the relentless pursuit of the voice of the athlete, Perez said. Quote, Sony Interactive Entertainment's marketing is focused on the excitement, joy, and emotion that gamers feel when playing their favorite games on PlayStation. There is no person around me in the team that isn't thinking about the player first, end quote. Yeah, so it's marketing speak, and that's fine. But it says here that she's also going to be in charge of hardware and stuff. But I think that's more or less commercializing it, merchandising and all that stuff, and that's cool. Like, I think that if you have an executive that used to work in like brand management at Nike, coming over to PlayStation to do that stuff. Have you seen some of those Air Jordan ads that they play on, like just even YouTube, Twitch, or even just, in general on TV? They're incredibly well produced. So, to commercialize PlayStation a little more in a mainstream style instead of kind of like those cheesy vignettes that we get, I think this is a big, big, big step towards a better looking PlayStation, if you know what I mean. So that it's a good decision to kind of up their game in terms of merchandising PlayStation a little more and commercializing it and campaigning it better. I think, big thumbs up. I welcome that. So we'll definitely see some changes in terms of the way that PlayStation is presented, the way that PlayStation is marketed. Like even around me, you see this look. This basically has been PlayStation's look for forever. Basically, since, PlayStation 3, 4. Not the colors. The colors would be PlayStation 1, but, PlayStation 3, 4, the sacred symbols, the blue hue, everything else, that's basically from PlayStation 3 into 4 onwards. That's pretty much been its look. And I think it'll get a welcome change because it definitely needs it. So, yeah. The next one comes by way of Vlad Mazanko over at The Gamer, who says, CD Projekt Red creating new studios in Boston to work on Cyberpunk 2077 sequel. The game's core team is moving to the US to oversee the project. Oh, God. Still talking about Cyberpunk. And we're talking about a sequel. Yet the game, oh, God. The game is, okay now, to play. You can jump on and start it now. The game came out, I think, it came out during the pandemic. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. It suffered some development cycle during the pandemic, but it was still rough, and it remained rough until just recently. The fact that they're now looking to pursue a sequel for this title, oh God, they don't need to. It was a disaster. Let it go. At least for now. Give it 5 years. Work on The Witcher. Do yourselves a favor. The Cyberpunk 2077 brand itself, that name, that label, is poison right now. You can't apply it to a game and kind of consider it coming out the other side with, a clean slate. That's just not going to happen. People are going to look at that and go, I ain't picking that up. So, I don't know. Anyway, the article reads, Cyberpunk 2077 sequel will be developed primarily by a new CD Projekt Red studio in Vancouver. Several lead devs of the original will be moving to the US as well to oversee the project and serve as the foundation of its newly assembled division. Following some pretty big recent reveals by the Polish company, Cyberpunk 2077 key devs shared their excitement for the future, providing further details about the sequel's development. According to Quest director Paul Sasko, alongside the core team of the original, he'll be moving to Boston, quote, to establish new studio and be the foundation for the North American team, end quote. The developer revealed the central idea is to set up a co-work between the Vancouver crew and devs from Warsaw to deliver, quote, a banging next game, end quote, to fans. CDPR hasn't previously commented on whether any of its Warsaw staff would be moving to the new studio or how many. Cool. Look, I'm not. I don't want to keep bashing on Cyberpunk because I think I've done that enough over the last couple of years. But it's just now we're at the point where the brand, the name, sets red flags. Sets off sirens. Basically, it's not a good thing. This is not a good thing. And I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess. But Cyberpunk 2077 has been plagued. It's been plagued by just sheer brand masochism, mainly, because they basically went forward with it, and these developers got paid handsomely for it as well for making this game, but I don't think that their heart was in it. The chance of it selling better than Cyberpunk 2077, the first one, is almost, that's not going to happen. Without star power, that won't happen. Keanu Reeves pushed that title even as shoddy as that release was, without Keanu Reeves' face on it, that game would have been worse off, way worse off. So I don't know. I think it's rough. It's rough to kind of judge it without knowing or seeing anything yet, but we'll definitely see what happens. Anyway, the next one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says Need for Speed Unbound is unlike any arcade racer you've seen before. So I did have a look at the trailer just before we came on, or just before I came on to record today. I wrote a couple of notes, but before I do, I'll read the article. It says Need for Speed Unbound's debut trailer has debuted a couple of hours earlier than it was supposed to. The clip, as expected from yesterday's first screenshots, is absolutely bursting with style, with cel-shaded character models and bundles of visual effects. These stylized elements all contrast with highly realistic car models and scenery. It's really a unique look. I don't know, I wouldn't call it unique necessarily, but that's just my personal take. The game's due out on the 2nd of December for PS5, and it'll be new gen only. There's no PS4 version at all. So this is an exclusive to next gen. Race against time, outsmart the cops, and take on weekly qualifiers to reach the Grand Lakeshore's ultimate street racing challenge, end quote, the video blurb reveals. Quote, pack your garage with precision-tuned custom rides and light up the streets with your style, exclusive fits, and vibrant global soundtrack that bumps in every corner of the world, end quote. On the subject of the soundtrack, American rapper A$AP Rocky is in the trailer, and his song, shitting me, looks like it's going to feature heavily throughout. What are your thoughts? Well, here's mine. So I wrote down quickly, there's a promotional aesthetic. I don't know whether or not it'll carry over in-game. You can see, like, it very much kind of went with, that cel shading style that they say here as well. I think if anything, it'll be an interesting takeaway to see whether or not it all carries over in terms of just some of the coloring and some of the blur textures and everything else that they're using, and whether or not it kind of, contrasts with it. Like, they make note that there is a contrast there, and that's fine. I think it's more of a tint than anything. They'll obviously use the character models with the cel shading. Everything else will have more realistic textures to it. With some, like the smoke effect here is cel shaded, but I don't know whether or not that'll be something that will be in game. I think that they might kind of, X-nay on the cel shading when it comes to in game. Whether or not this is just kind of campaigning or pre-rendered cutscene usage, or whether or not it's a brand new look that they're going for to appeal to some sort of Need for Speed has done good stuff since its relaunch, since its reboot, right? This is intriguing because it sets a tone that they're kind of going back, they're hearkening to their roots a little bit here. This is an arcade racer. This is not going to be straight up Need for Speed that you know and love. This is something different now. So I think for anything, this is a step in the right direction for the brand itself. Need for Speed needed this. Because even though they rebooted and they did it well, there's always that case that it just that appeal fades fast on this franchise now. And I think that also it suffers kind of the same fate as Gran Turismo a little bit in terms of trying to put forward, putting their best foot forward, but Forza is always one step ahead. And right now, Need for Speed suffers that. I think that Forza still is one step ahead of Need for Speed as well. So, yeah, it really kind of suffers that a little bit. So, the last story of the day comes by way of comic book gaming. This one comes from Lance Goes. Oh, sorry, this one's from CBR.com, not comic book game. Lance Goes? Jeez. Who says, God of War Ragnarok reportedly takes full work week to complete. An industry insider reports Santa Monica Studios' long-awaited God of War Ragnarok will deliver 40 hours of unique content to its players. That's a big chunk. Anyway, so an industry insider reports Sony Santa Monica Studios' highly anticipated God of War Ragnarok will take a full 40-hour work week to fully experience. Trusted video game journalist and insider gaming writer Tom Henderson claimed players will be looking to see all of what Ragnarok has to offer. Will need to invest an estimated 40 hours to experience all of its content. The game's main story allegedly comprises half of the estimated playthrough time, with approximately 3.5 hours of cutscenes interspersed throughout the game's campaign. The game's side quests will additionally take up another 20 hours to complete, though Henderson noted players might also see differing clear speeds depending on their skill level and playstyle. Henderson further noted the report corroborated the information provided by God of War creator David Jaffe, who previously claimed the game's developers wanted to provide at least 40 hours of unique content. Quote, "I don't know if that's 100% platinum trophy completion or if that's average playtime," Jaffe said. Quote, "Is it guaranteed? No. Things get cut, things get added. But what I can tell you right now, 40 hours of gameplay is what they're shooting for the new God of War." Awesome. 40 hours worth. I mean, look, let's face it. We pay a premium price tag right now in Australia. And I don't want to spin this into like we're paying too much for gaming kind of deal in Australia. But for what we pay in terms of So for those who don't know, the price tag for a PlayStation 5 game in Australia right now, and I can understand there is going to be a little bit of a what the frick hearing this, but it's $129.95 recommended retail pricing. So I think for that price tag, we're getting our money's worth here. So 40 hours of gameplay is sick. I like that. I like the fact that we potentially now get to see a long form third person action adventure. The last one was amazing. It was about 25 hours, I believe, 20 to 25 hours. So this is double the length. But they also make note, and I want to kind of clarify this. They say it is a working week in terms of in terms of its a completion rate. So it's an interesting way to put it. Not just, hey, it's 40 hours of the campaign's 40 hours in length. No, it's a working week, 40 hours. Does that mean like you come home, you play it, and it's going to take you 40 hours? Like how is that defined? I don't understand. But anyway, the point is that it's 40 hours. That's what they're going for. That's what they're aiming for. This is going to be a massive game. It's going to be the biggest release of the year, obviously. So the fact that, like I said, for Aussies that are paying that premium, this is going to be well worth that. And then some. So I'm really excited, man. God of War was awesome in 2018. So this is going to be excellent. This is going to be... as PlayStation gamers this year, we've been spoiled in a way. You think about it. Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok. Those are some big, those are whoppers. Those are big releases this year, big releases. So we've been spoiled. We've definitely been spoiled. I'm leaving some, off the list, obviously, in my head. Oh, The Last of Us Part 1, So we've been spoiled, and it's great. I love it. So can't wait to see, God of War again, just in a little over a month. I think it's going to be really exciting to see what... where the story's going after the first one, because that ending on that first one is just mind-blowing, first of all. and it kind of alludes to what's going to happen in the second anyway. So with some of the teasers and whatnot, and Thor's involvement with the game. So there you go. All right, guys, time for the drop. Here is what's coming out for the next fortnight. So we'll begin with what's out from October 11th, which is next Tuesday, once again, because there isn't anything out from today for PlayStation. So from October 11th, No More Heroes 3 for PS4 and PS5. Asterigos Curse of the Star for PS4 and PS5. For October 12th, Lego Brick Tales for PS4 and PS5. War Pips for PS5. I believe also PS4. This listing here is from VG247, and it only has PS5 and PS5, so there must be a typo there. It's for PS4 and PS5. On October 13th, The Eternal Cylinder for PS5. The Darkest Tales for PS4 and PS5. Fueled Up for PS4. WRC Generations for PS4 and PS5. On October 14th, NHL 23 for PS4 and PS5, PGA Tour 2K23 for PS4 and PS5, Saint Kotar for PS4 and PS5, Dragon Ball The Breakers, which we previewed. You can go check that out right now on Dash Gamer for PS4, PS5. On October 18th, Them's Fighting Herds for PS4 and PS5. On October 19th, this one's actually for PC. Uncharted, the Legacy of Thieves collection, which I'm really excited about. So definitely get your hands on that for PC because it's an excellent, excellent collection. If you've played the first 3 Uncharted games, this is Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy. So it's really cool. On October 20, Warhammer 40k, Shooters, Blood, and Teeth. Teeth as in T-E-F means teeth, but teeth. For PS4 and PS5. Batora Lost Haven for PS4 and PS5. Now, I'll also read October 21st, even though I'll read October 21st again when the next episode comes out. On October 21st, Persona 5 Royal for PS5. Now, not to be confused with anyone, Persona 5 Royal for PS5 is going to be different. So make sure you guys check that out on next-gen platforms if you are big Persona fans as well. On October 21st as well, New Tales of the Borderlands for PS4 and PS5, and Gotham Knights for PS5. I'm not going to comment, not going to say anything on Gotham Knights. Okay. New Tales from the Borderlands, though, I am excited for. That, like, I love Tales from the Borderlands. So that game, like New Tales, has me intrigued. Definitely intrigued. I hope it's just as good. So we'll see what happens, I guess. But anyway, guys, that is it for today's episode of Operation PlayStation. If you like what you heard today, make sure that you subscribe to us over on Anchor, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. We are exclusively now on dashgamer.com in terms of our VOD, so make sure you guys go check us out there. We'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode of Operation PlayStation. But until then, this operation is complete.
dashgamer.com